This hip thread is fairly difficult for a lot of people because we sit so much in the modern world. We tend to lose mobility. By alternating sides back and forth like this, we're checking on our hips to see if they move equally well on both sides. If you have things like back pain, or you have things like knee pain from injury or from life, then this is an exercise you should probably start to work on. You're gonna notice one side is better than the other. Any asymmetry in movement in the body can tend to result in pain later on because the length tension relationship of muscles on either side of your spine and in your hip is different. What most people forget is that sit-ups are actually just part of a get-up. A lot of people just practice sit-ups, but they never practice the full get-up. The exercise that we're gonna work on today helps people start to get their hips in the right spot to start doing the no hand get up. There are a ton of types of get ups. Turkish get up is the one that most people are familiar with. It's the one that gives people the most benefit in the least amount of time. Locking out a weight overhead forces people to line up their skeleton in a particular way. You can practice get ups every day for the rest of your life. When you lose the ability to get up off of the ground without touching down your hands, you are losing movement and therefore getting old. In order to not get old and feel good for as long as possible, you should practice no hand get-ups and all the breakdowns therein. For this exercise, we are going to use a heavy club. The heavy club allows us in the future to transfer this into standing movements better than other things. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thumb points towards the sky, thumb points down. Grab the handle on one side with your thumb pointed down, palm facing away, pick up the weight. Tiger claw with the other hand to grab around the end of the club. Our goal is to get down without arching our back. Get down, 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 down. Don't touch your head to the ground. Club goes all the way back behind your head. Squeeze your elbows together. Drive your rib cage down. Pull over, sit up, and we're going to add in a leg thread. That means take one foot, put it underneath one side. This is going to change the way your hips are touching the ground. Lift the spine as much as possible. Take the leg out, change to the other side on the next rep. Round the spine. Make your spine into the shape of a C. Get down, lower back stays on the ground. Pull over, sit up. Extend the spine, thread the other leg. Back to normal. Get down, pull over, sit up, thread. Get down, pull over, sit up, thread. Get down, pull over, sit up, thread. The goal of this exercise is eventually to turn it into the no hand get up. Then when we have a club, we can do things like add shield cast to force our spine into a vertical position. It's all about alignment. Pivot that leg, get it all the way down, reset. It is a get up where we are not putting our hands on the ground like a Turkish get up, and then we can practice it on both sides. That hip snap is the hard part for most people, and it is based on this hip thread position. This exercise can also be done with a kettlebell. Kettlebell starts in front of the body, thumbs point towards the sky, tip the kettlebell towards you, use your thumbs to hold onto the horns of the kettlebell, get all the way down, pull over, sit up, leg thread, alternate sides, leg thread, pull over, sit up, leg thread, eventually turns into that no hand get up. If you don't have a kettlebell and you don't have a club, then you can use an Olympic plate. Think about the palm of your hand resting on it, clamshell grip. People will recognize this is an adaptation from a CrossFit exercise. The CrossFit exercise being all the way down, touch, 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 touch. Let's just add the leg thread to it. Touch, leg thread, touch, leg thread, touch, leg thread, touch, get up. A couple of things that are important with this exercise. We're treating this exercise as learning to not lose our core control at the bottom. Our goal is to learn to not slam our skull into the ground when we get up and get down. We want to keep our core engaged in this position to learn to keep our head up. Keep your elbows tight instead of letting them track out. When they track out, you're using your shoulder. When your elbows are tight, we're trying to engage our lat to help us engage our core. All the way down. We don't want to let go and slam our skull into the ground. Our goal is to maintain tension the entire time, elbows close to the body, and then work on that hip mobility. I like to think of this as a safety-based exercise. If you do things like martial arts, if you ride dirt bikes, if you ride horses, then you tend to fall down, and the goal is to not get super hurt when you fall down. A lot of people, when they fall down, drop, they lose their core, and their head snaps back and hits the ground. The better we get at learning to maintain this, keep it engaged, and learn to keep our skull off of the ground, the more our survivability goes up when you have really expensive, dumb hobbies that are likely to kill you. Horseback riding, expensive, dumb hobby, likely to kill you. Dirt bike riding, same thing. Mountain biking, same thing. In martial arts, it is very important to not get your skull slammed into the ground. It's basic human survival, and this is a basic breakdown for get-ups. It does not matter what sport you play or what age you are, you should practice some version of a get-up twice a week for the rest of your life. The no-hand get-up is a very good one to practice. This tends to come after Turkish get-ups. It tends to go Turkish get-ups, something like a club get-up, because it tends to be a lighter weight. That tends to turn into a kettlebell get-up. And then eventually this can be done with things like sandbags, which is an entirely different type of activation. Get-ups are important. In order to get good at get-ups, you should break them down into all the little pieces and practice things like this hip mobility forever. The more you travel and you sit down on planes, trains, and automobiles, the more your hip mobility diminishes. So use these exercises to check in on this basic human movement pattern forever.